Whenever I think of Matthew Flinders, I think of the Flinders Ranges, Flinders Street, Flinders Street Station. But who exactly is Flinders? Surely he's not a station. This is Matthew Flinders, or at least it's a portrait of Matthew Flinders, who I have been told was indeed a real-life person. Matthew Flinders was born on the 16th of March 1774 in a town called Donington in England. Which means he would have spoken like this. Sorry, I just really wanted to do a British accent. Sorry, Flinders. Anyway, Matthew Flinders' dad was a doctor who hoped that his son would follow in his footsteps. But Matthew had other plans. Inspired by the adventure novel Robinson Crusoe, Flinders was drawn to a life at sea. And at the age of 15, he joined the Royal Navy. He served on several expeditions, including a few that took him all the way to Terra Australis, which Britain had just begun to colonise. One of those journeys was on the HMS Reliance, where Flinders was serving as a low-ranked officer. He befriended the ship's surgeon, George Bass, and together they were granted permission to jump on a little boat called the Tom Thumb and explore the coast of New South Wales, and eventually the section of water between Victoria and Tasmania. Oh, you know, the Bass Strait, which I'm just realising is probably called the Bass Strait after George Bass. That's history for you. By this point, Flinders had proven himself a rather good cartographer or map maker. So in 1801, the British Admiralty asked Flinders to return to Terra Australis to map the whole island, or islands. You see, back then the British weren't really sure if Australia was a continent or a series of islands, because no one had really been all the way around before. And that's exactly what Flinders set out to do, alongside his trusty companion, a black and white cat named Trim. He had help from a Ku-ring-gai man called Bungaree, who was able to communicate with the different indigenous groups along the coast, as well as helping to navigate the land and sea, identifying landmarks and safe passageways. He was described by Flinders as a worthy and brave fellow who saved the expedition a few times. Once Flinders had finished his mapping, he set off home for England. But along the way, he was shipwrecked at the French-controlled island of Mauritius. It was bad timing because Britain and France were at war and Flinders was put in prison for 6 years. When Flinders was eventually released, he returned to England to work on his book, A Voyage to Terra Australis, as well as detailed maps of the continent, which was now commonly referred to as Australia, thanks to Flinders. Yep, it was Flinders that suggested Australia would make a good name, and it kind of stuck. I mean, obviously it stuck. It's the name of our country, so. Flinders died on the 19th of July 1814, a day before his book was published. He was buried in London, but eventually the location of his grave was forgotten and ironically the great cartographer was lost. That was until 2019 when construction on a speed rail in London unearthed his remains, along with a lead coffin breastplate confirming that it was Matthew Flinders. And just this month, he was finally taken back to his hometown to be reburied. Meanwhile, the lead breastplate has been sent to Adelaide, where it will go on display. So we have another way to remember the guy who mapped our country and gave it its name.